Most people think time is the problem. Not enough time, not enough hours, too many things to do. But time isn't the issue, allocation is. You already have enough time to move forward. The question is, where is it going? Time doesn't disappear, it gets assigned. Every day your time is being spent, either intentionally or automatically. And most people don't notice where it goes. Small tasks, unplanned interruptions, low-value commitments, they don't feel significant. But they add up, and over time they take up the space that should have been used for progress. This is where most people lose control. Not because they're lazy, but because they're unstructured. They react to their day instead of designing it, so their time gets filled by whatever shows up first. Messages, requests, distractions, other people's priorities. And by the end of the day, there's nothing left for what actually matters. This is why time needs structure. Because without structure, everything feels important. And when everything feels important, nothing gets done properly. This is where energy becomes just as important as time. Not every hour is equal. Some hours are focused, clear, productive. Others are low energy, distracted, slower. If you try to do important work in low energy time, it feels harder than it should. So you avoid it, delay it, push it to later. But later never comes. This is why energy allocation matters. You don't just need time, you need the right time. Your best work should happen when your energy is highest, and that requires planning. Now this leads to something most people struggle with, saying no. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Even if you don't see it, time is limited, so every commitment has a cost. Low-value tasks feel harmless, but they take space, and that space could have been used for something better. This is why saying no is not negative, it's necessary. Because if you don't protect your time, someone else will use it. And most of the time, they'll use it for their priorities, not yours. Now let's talk about focus. Focus doesn't happen by accident. You don't just find time to focus. You create it. And the only way to create it is to block it. Focused work requires uninterrupted time. No notifications, no switching tasks, no reacting. But most people never create that space. They work in fragments, small pieces of time, constant interruptions. And that destroys depth. Because deep work needs continuity. This is where focus blocks become important. Instead of hoping you'll find time, you schedule it. You treat it as non-negotiable, because if it's not protected, it will be replaced. And this leads to one simple rule. If it's not scheduled, it's not real. Good intentions don't create progress. Scheduled actions do. Most people say they'll get to it later, but later is vague, and vague doesn't happen. Scheduled time happens. Now bring this all together. Time, energy, focus, structure. When these align, progress becomes predictable. You're not guessing, you're not reacting, you're executing. And this is what separates productive people from busy people. Busy people fill their time. Productive people control it. They don't do more. They do what matters, and they protect it. So if you feel like you don't have enough time, look at where it's going, because time is your real asset, and how you use it determines what you build. There's another problem most people don't see. They don't just lose time, they fragment it. Their day gets broken into pieces, small tasks, interruptions, quick reactions, and on the surface it feels like they're doing a lot. But nothing meaningful gets completed, because real progress doesn't happen in fragments, it happens in blocks. You can't build anything significant in 5-minute intervals. You need uninterrupted time. Time where your attention doesn't shift. Time where you can actually think. But that kind of time doesn't appear on its own. You have to protect it. And most people don't. They leave their day open, flexible, unstructured, and that sounds good until everything starts filling it. Messages come in, requests show up, distractions pull you away, and before you realize it, your focus is gone. This is where people confuse activity with progress. They feel busy, but they're not moving forward. Because movement requires direction, and direction requires control. That's what structure gives you. Not restriction, control. When you structure your time, you decide what gets your attention. instead of letting everything compete for it. And this is where most people struggle. They think structure limits freedom, but the opposite is true. Lack of structure creates chaos. Structure creates freedom. Because when your priorities are scheduled, you don't have to think about them. You just execute. And that removes friction. You're not deciding what to do next. You already decided. Now you're just following through. This is what makes disciplined people different. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on pre-decided structure. They don't wake up and ask, "What should I do today?" They already know. And that clarity saves time. Because decision-making is expensive. Every small decision drains energy. What to do, when to do it, whether to do it now or later. And if you're making those decisions all day, you run out of energy before the important work begins. That's why planning matters. You don't just plan to stay organized. You plan to reduce decision fatigue. So when it's time to work, you don't hesitate. You start. And this ties back to something simple. If you don't control your time, you lose it. Not all at once, but slowly. A few minutes here, an hour there, a day that disappears, and over time, that becomes your pattern. So instead of asking, "Do I have time?" ask, "Did I protect it?" Because time isn't something you find, it's something you defend. And once you start treating it that way, everything changes. You become more focused, more intentional, more effective. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what matters. And that's the shift. Time isn't your problem. How you use it is.